Hey team, Callie here with another Honkai Star Rail video for you today. We are going to be talking about Black Swan and Kafka, whether or not they are still useful in the current endgame state, and if you should pull them on their upcoming rerun banner in just a few days. So, if you're interested in this type of content and analyzing like which characters would be still worth pulling, which are good in which modes, etc., please by all means like, share, comment, etc. All those fun things. And I would be really interested to know if you plan on getting Kafka or Black Swan or both of them on the upcoming patch 2.5. So post down in the comments below if you're going to get them, let me know. Anyway, let's jump right into it. So Pride One, big fan of their website. Lots of good information. And they usually keep it up to date pretty quickly. Now, a lot of people may say, Callie, Pride One's not perfect. They don't take into account this. They don't take into account that. Etc. I'm like, y'all, nothing's perfect, okay? Nothing and no one is perfect, but their information is kept very up to date, and I really like their website. I'm on it pretty much every day. So if you don't like them, I'm sorry. I apologize, but I think they're great, and I am big fan of Pride One. So anyway, so we're looking here at their main tier list for the three endgame modes. Now, one thing to keep in mind, less than 1% of the player base engages in endgame content at all. It's very small. Um, well, I think it's probably less than 5%. Less than 1% clears floor 12. So there's not a ton of people even doing this content. But everybody likes knowing what's going to be the best, so they could just make their characters do their open world stuff and be fine. Now me, I'm an endgame player. Like, endgame is the most important thing to me. That's why I quit Genshin 2 years ago, because it didn't have endgame anymore. Nothing new. No more challenges, so it was pointless. Star Rail keeps adding hard stuff, and I love it. It's great. So as you can see here, we have Kafka and Black Swan at this spot on the table. But let's not just look at everybody on the table, right? Let's just look at these two. Let's just look at Nihility in general. So you're going to notice that across, oh, I didn't keep the tabs. Across all three modes, those two are ranked next to each other consistently. Memory of Chaos, tier 0.5. They're both specialists together. Pure Fiction, same. Epoch Shadow, tier 1. So obviously they're really good. I know we haven't really gotten new DoT characters lately, but that doesn't mean that they're not able to just basically ignore the mechanics going on and do a ton of damage. So if you are willing to get both, or have both, you know this. But if you don't have both, what if you just have one? Yeah? Well, let's take a look into that. Because if you plan on getting both anyway, you don't need this video, right? You know you're gonna get it. You don't have to worry about it. You're just gonna buy them all anyway. It doesn't matter. This is for the people that are trying to figure out what to do with their account. Alright, so let's start with Black Swan. Not 100% sure if this guide is 100% accurate, but the prisoner set obviously going to be the best. Ignores defense on the DoT, dealing damage. Pioneer, second best, mixed with Musketeer. It's about an 8% loss. Pioneer obviously being, or Prisoner being obviously the best one. Pan Cosmic obviously being the best. EHR getting more attack. But Frontline is not that far off. It's only like 3.5%, 135 speed. But you're going to want speed on her anyway. So for her, typically you use effective rate attack, speed. Most DoT characters are always going to use speed boots because they want to get more applications of their dots. It's kind of a big key. She needs a bunch of EHR because of her kit. Speed. Obviously, it's important. Attack, break effect. Crit's kind of useless for her. It doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. Like, her basic can crit, I guess, and her skills, the media damage can, but it's so insignificant compared to her DoT. It doesn't really matter. But what about her teams, right? Lycones, obviously, some good options. Eyes the Prey is a good free to, well, it's not free to play. It's a warp, but Showtime is decent. It's not as good because it doesn't have EHR. That's why I'm a big fan of Eyes of the Prey. It's a very good 4-star weapon. Synergy. We're going to look at some teams, though. We got some Black Swan information here. Here's who she's used with. Most MLC. Her best, most common team is Acheron. Those two together, and then a support of some sort, as you can see. Now, why is that? Well, they're both Nihility, right? So if you have Acheron, I mean, you're going to be going through a lot of skill points. So I think that's it's not an ideal team for me. I wouldn't do this because you want to basically skill every time on Kafka and every time on Acheron. So you're going to be really tight on skill points on this team. So just be aware of that. Let's go look at some statistics of these two characters. Okay. So when they're together in MLC, we've got multiple stages. Obviously, first, second half. This is for current MLC as of, what is today? The 1st of September. So, most common, but we want to know about cycles, right? Lowest cycles, highest damage, highest throughput. Maybe not the most common, but this lowest cycles. So the DoT teams here, putting Gwynifen is number 3, and then add a healer at the end. You could also have Asta for the speed, but this is kind of where the quickest cycles are at. And then you have Acheron down here also at 8, and then 8.17. So these are just about as fast, and if you have Acheron, you probably want to play her anyway, because she's awesome. So obviously, they're good in MLC, right? They can be played as DoT, they could be played with Acheron, great shape. Now, what if you don't have Kafka? You just have Black Swans. We have to do a little bit of work here to find teams where she's not in use. So down here, let's sort by cycles. This is a team that I use regularly, actually. I'm very, very similar to this or Aventurine in the last column. You may say, well, why Black Swan? Well, Black Swan at E1, when she has her ultimate up on enemies, reduces lightning resist by 25%. That's a huge damage increase for Acheron. Next team without, obviously you have another DoT component here. It's not too far behind. Zhao is obviously going to take Gwynifan's spot on this next cycle. Zhao is Acheron's best partner by miles. But if we're just talking about Black Swan, you can see pretty good here. And you don't really see a ton of usage outside of those two characters when you exclude Kafka. So you could probably use her in other teams, but Acheron and Kafka are kind of her two staples. Same kind of goes for the other side over here. It's going to be about the same story. You just don't see people using other combinations. Now, if we go and take a look at, say, Pure Fiction. Again, we're focusing on Black Swan right now. Pure Fiction, they can't split these data across the stages. But you could see the normal story still here. The sort by score. Robin, obviously, because she's making the team move faster, more attacks, killing things with that. That's why. You don't really see any difference, though, because you're always basically seeing her with either Acheron or Kafka. You don't really see her play with anything else in this endgame mode either. Now we go over to Apoc Shadow, and again, there's one team, and only one team that's different here. Ratio, but the rest of the team's follow-up. So she's probably used here to lower the defense and just have the dots on the enemies to just be ticking away. Robin's follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. Debuffs for Ratio. Like, this makes sense. Just for that specific mode. Otherwise, here's another option with Sparkle. Here's another option with Himiko in this mode. So this mode, oh, there's no score. Huh, that's irrelevant. Okay, so it's really just adding ratio for APOC Shadow only. So, back to my original statement. We're talking about Black Swan here. We haven't got into Kafka too much yet. If you do not have Acheron, and you do not have Kafka, and you don't want them, I don't recommend pulling her. I don't. If you don't want to play her with this team or this team. Now, of course, you could do Copium, and you could run her with like Genuine, which I did for a while, E1, with Sparkle. You're going to do okay. It's not going to be as good. You're not going to clear the in-game modes anywhere near as easily with the highest scores. Enough to get the points you need to beat the modes on the hardest difficulties. Unless you have a second team, like the Firefly Break team, and then you just have like 8-9 cycles left with your other half. But if you're not willing to pull Acheron or Kafka, skip Black Swan. If you have Kafka, you should pull Black Swan. If you have Acheron and you have Zhao, you don't need either one of these. So, it's my Black Swan comment. Now I'll take a look at Kafka. Alright, Kafka time. Prisoner, obviously best. The band isn't that far behind. As when you use a skill, you get 20% attack. That's pretty significant with the lightning damage. This is a pretty old set. Most of you that have been playing a while probably have some of it. You can kind of mix and match stuff too, and it's not that low of a damage decrease. So with a 10% lightning damage, with 2 pieces of this, which I'm guessing most of the current players are going to have, it's good. You could run that. You could probably run 4 pieces of this as well. I don't know the exact math on it, but it's probably comparable to all these. Same with Lamoth. Like, her gearing is pretty straightforward. I wouldn't recommend really using Space Station over Glamoth. Glamoth's just better. So, she wants attack, 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 attack. Or attack, speed, lightning, attack. Speed's really important. At least 134. There's a whole chart. I could make a whole video just talking about speed breakpoints, so you all can understand how speed works and why you're like, oh, I need 160 hyperspeed sparkle. I want 134. I want one whatever. It matters for the amount of cycles that you're going to get. I mean, the amount of turns you're going to get in each cycle. So if you have 160 speed, you are going to get 4 turns in the first 2 cycles in MOC. That's pretty significant. Okay, so got this here. Light cones. Her light cone is very good. But Good Night Sleep Well is also really good if you have S5. 24% damage 3 times. That's good numbers. Also plus a DoT. Really good light cone. I actually recommend this if you have it S5. Otherwise, obviously her signature is best. If you need me to tell you that, then I have a bridge in the ocean to sell you. Okay, let's go look at some of Kafka's teams now. Okay, so Kafka, by herself, you could see the teams, because we saw them earlier. If we are going to run her without Acheron, there's very few options. This one you could use Gwen, and then Robin, because you're moving everyone forward, and you can do the explosions more often, because her skill causes dots to pop, and they do damage instantaneously instead of having to wait. That's a big deal. But as we're looking down through here, I mean, you see the same teams we saw before. There's no real surprises here. I guess Kafka's Super Break. I wouldn't recommend this. I mean, what's her break stats even look like? 10, 20, 20. Yeah, don't use her as break. Don't do that. This is a meme team. But again, same story, right? She's good with Acheron, or she's good with DoT characters in her team. Now if we go look at Pure Fiction, and we're just looking at Kafka, what do you see? Same story, yeah? Got Zhao over here, obviously. Zhao is badass. He's great. I love Zhao. Big fan of Zhao. Acheron is kind of the king here. You have Himiko, who's really good in pure fiction, along with Kafka and these team here. But overall, it's the same story. Acheron, if you have Acheron and you want to use her as an agility support, great. Or if you have Kafka wanting to use Black Swan and do DoT, it's kind of your options. Now let's take a look at Apoc's Shadow. Surprise no one. Literally no surprises here. So, what would I recommend for you? Yeah, so we're talking about this. If you have Acheron and you want to run her with these two characters, you could get them and you'll be doing great. If you have Kafka and you would like an extra DoT character, she would also be good. But if you don't have or want Acheron, then your option is these two have to be together unless you want to have Kafka with like Gwenithan or another DoT character. That's kind of your only options. Like Kafka and Sampo maybe, but I didn't see Sampo at any of those lists. So for Endgame, I couldn't recommend it. So final thoughts here. The characters are good. Yes, it's very clear that those two characters are top tier endgame units. But you also notice that in most of those clears, Acheron was present in most of those teams. So if you take Acheron out of the equation, these two need to be run together to be that strong in over 95% of cases. If you don't run them together and you don't run them with Acheron, they would all drop down in tiers across the board. So, my recommendation, if you have Acheron and you want one or both of them and you want to put them with Acheron, that's a good option. If you don't, well, you kind of need both of these together. And if not, they're both going to be less effective. So that's my thoughts. Feel free to disagree in the comments. Love to see your discussion. Consider joining the Eternia Archives Discord, where we have lots of people that are talking about Star Rail stuff on a regular basis. And we're starting the podcast back up soon. Episode 34, September 7th, after 2 years hiatus, more than 2 years. Pretty excited to get everybody back together. That's it for me, everybody. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Today's secret word. Today's secret word is DoT. Because we talked about DoT characters. Yeah. So, DoT down below. Secret word. Post that. I'll know you were here. Thanks. See y'all next time.